Hey, riding side saddle. It's Tammy.
She's naughty.
You're welcome.
Full of mischief tonight. And this is Lisa. Taking the abuse.
Oh, yeah, abuse. You're welcome.
Oh,
You're welcome.
thanks for joining us.
Riding side saddle. We're back.
She sure is.
We are.
With every bit.
Uh-huh. Oh, gosh, I need to catch my breath. Oh,
So
boy.
Tammy decides tonight that she's going to pretend that we're starting the recording while I'm snorting from laughing.
It was
Throwing me into a complete tizzy.
It was a good test / outtake. Maybe someday we'll post it, but that was really funny.
Yeah, dang.
That was funny. I'm keeping that one. Oh, gosh.
So, down to business.
Yep, we're back with Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, PhD.
Mm-hmm. We've been working hard.
Oh, so hard.
It's not, oh, it's,
Sorry.
it's good.
I mean, oh, man, that was a good chapter.
It is. They are good chapters. They're just a good amount
They
of
are.
work,
Yeah, they
too.
are.
I will say it. I said it. I've said it 100 times. I will say it again. These chapters and going through this is going to continue to reverb into my life.
Yeah.
Like through periods and times of my life, I'm going to be like, holy shit. And I'm going to start to make different connections. And I'm going to pull this book back and be like, yep, that and that and that.
Wow. I feel like, I don't know if I said this last time or if I just thought it, but I feel like this book for you is like the Gifts of Imperfection is for me.
You did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You did say that. And I would have to agree. I mean, I know that you speak so highly of that book and how it truly was monumental in shifting your paradigm, shifting your life.
Yeah. And I pull things from that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess this is that for me.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah. It dives very, very, very deep into things that I didn't honestly even know existed.
Right.
Frankly.
Right. Well, we're on chapter 4.
The mate. Union with the other.
On page 121. At least that's what it is in my book. This was a short chapter.
And honestly, I feel like we needed that.
Oh, man.
It's been, there's been some pretty hefty concepts and I don't know, unearthings for me up until this point.
Yeah. I don't know. This one it's called the Hymn for the Wild Man. Manawi.
Mm-hmm, which is the folklore, the name of the character in the folklore.
Right. Do you want to explain what the folklore is?
Yeah, I thought you had like just a sentence after that. You didn't?
No, not really.
Okay.
It was I honestly think this was the hardest chapter for me to read. It was like 8 pages for her to get to the point. I don't love. I like the story.
Mm-hmm.
But then she continues with the very artful style of writing that like the meaning gets lost for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I felt like it was a very, like the concepts in the chapter were very limited.
Fluid, maybe?
Well,
Abstract?
Well, no, they were limited. Like she's really only talking about like 1 or 2 things, right?
Yeah.
It's not gigantic concepts.
No, it's not. Not in this one. It's
right.
not.
So it's more limited, which is why the chapter is smaller. But it took her forever to get to it.
But I think also, like, I think, and now I come from a place of like, ooh,
Yeah.
right? Because this like
Right.
connects deeply into my heart.
Right.
Yes, the concepts are limited, but you have to look at it from the perspective of like, this is, you may be seeing this on the outside, like through a mate, and you also have to recognize that you're seeing it within yourself. All
Right.
of these aspects within yourself. So it's
But it
deep.
took her 8 pages out of the 15 to get to that point. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like for me, it just took too long to get there. So I was getting lost before I even got started.
Okay. Okay.
I liked the folklore.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand the concepts behind it, and I can connect those dots. I would just like for her to get to the point quicker.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair. All right, so Manawi.
Mm-hmm.
I find it fascinating. This is me being totally fucking weird first, so I will just say that. So Manawi, Manawee. Okay, this chapter talks about the duality
Mm-hmm.
of a woman. And we'll get into this as we continue on in the chapter. This isn't going to be a really long episode, so I feel like I can skip around a little bit. So the concept is around the duality of woman, of female, inside yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's aspects that you give up front that the public sees, right?
The outer you and the inner you.
Right.
Yeah.
And then oftentimes in opposition, there's something deeper, right, inside of you that, you have to feed equally and support in the same manner as you support your public view self. And I just found it really interesting that the name of the character in the folklore was Manawee. So man of we is how I saw it. Like we, meaning the duality of myself and the man associated with that.
Oh, I see.
I just thought that was interesting, and I
Yeah.
totally made that shit up.
Yeah, you
like
did.
That's not part of the chapter at all.
But that is an interesting connection. I didn't see it that way. But that's good.
Yeah. Okay, so the folklore in this, essentially, it's from Haiti. That's where the story comes from, and the story goes that there was a man who was courting 2 twin sisters, and he went to their place of home, kingdom, whatever, and their father. Let me back up. So the 2 twin sisters, there were characteristics about those twins, even though that they were twins, there was differences between them. One of the twins was more beautiful, like visually beautiful than the other twin. And then the opposite twin, who wasn't considered as beautiful, was more sweet and loving
kinder.
and kind,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But the unique aspect of this was that as Manawee came to court these 2 twins, he was not given their names. And the father said, listen, if you want to be a part of their lives, if you want to have them as your wives, plural, you have to figure out what their names are. You have to guess their name. And he guessed and he guessed and he, pulled shit out of his ass. And he's like, father's like, nope. Try again. And he couldn't get it. Right. So Manawee leaves, and
He had a dog.
he had a little dog who was like, listen, I liked these ladies, right? They fed me, they treated me well. I'm gonna go
All
back.
The belly rubs.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back on Manawee, my owner's behalf, my master's behalf, and I'm going to find out what these ladies' names are and bring that information back to Manawee so that we can be with them. I
want to
liked
be
them.
with them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So this little dog goes traipsing back to the place where the twin women live, and they were talking amongst themselves. They were twins. They loved one another. They had conversation, and he was listening in, just very, very secretly. And as they communicated, they used each other's names, and he captured the names. He's like, fantastic.
I got it.
Right. I'm going to go back to my master now, and I'm going to deliver these names so that he can marry these twins, and we're all going to be happy. Belly rubs day and night, happily ever after. So he turns his little doggy tail around and comes running back. And before he knows it, he is sidetracked. He's sidetracked by a bone that a lion has left from prey that he had eaten. And well, goddamn, I can't walk past this bone. Like, this is like a treat.
Still meat on the bone.
Right.
I'm going to eat.
Right.
Yeah.
So he does. He gets sidetracked and he eats. And after he's through with the bone, licking his chops, he realizes that he can't remember the names of the twins anymore. So he heads back to their home where they stay. And once again, he hears them talking amongst themselves through their time. And I believe that they were starting to get ready for a party of some kind.
A celebration, it says,
So they were dressing and preparing and getting ready. And he, again, captures their names. And he hightails it, turns right around, hightails it back to the master. Yet, he got sidetracked again. I don't remember what the fruit was.
The smell of nutmeg.
Oh, nutmeg. That was it. So he gets sidetracked because he smells nutmeg, and it's his
pie.
It's his favorite smell.
Yeah.
So he goes and he devours this pie, again licking his chops, and before he knows it, once again he forgets the name of the twins. So a third time he has to go back, and he's like, this time, man, I am not going to let anything stop me. Like, I am not going to be taken off my track. Like, I have a mission and I'm going to accomplish
focus.
It. Yes. So now the twin women are getting ready for a wedding. Like, they're like, it's coming to an end here. And the dog knows, man, I really have to make this happen because
they're going to get married to someone who's not my master.
I got sidetracked twice now. I'm going to lose my opportunity.
Running out of time.
I got to make this shit happen and do it now.
Yeah.
So he does. He goes and he gets their names, and he's like, nope, nothing's going to stop me this time. I'm headstrong about this, and I'm going to make it happen. So he does, and he keeps running past all of the possible, situations that might sidetrack him, until he gets close to his master, but he gets trapped, kidnapped.
Yeah, by a stranger.
By a black shadowed stranger of some kind. And through this getting captured, he has to fight for his life. Like, he's just like getting tousled and pulled and hurt. And he finally attacks back to this shadow person, and he breaks free. And ultimately, he is able to run back to his master, Manawi, give him the information, give him the names, and Manawi goes back to the twins' fathers, provides the names of the twins, and is able to marry them.
Get married and live happily ever after.
Happily, so many belly rubs.
Right.
So that's the folklore in a nutshell. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Okay. And then we start to dissect that. So as I had mentioned, the aspect of those twins is actually...
It's the inner you and the outer you.
The parts of women, right? Because based on this, all women have two specific personalities.
Right.
And oftentimes they're in opposition of one another. In fact, I did find this fascinating. Even before the folklore itself, there was an aspect. I'm on page 122. It talks a little bit about like the desires of a woman. So on page 122, it says, while the hag in, I'm not going to pronounce this right, Chancer, something like that. It's at the top of the page.
Yeah.
The wife of Bath croaked out that the answer to the question that women have was that women wish to have sovereignty over their lives. And this is indeed the irrevocable fact. And this is indeed an irrevocable fact. There is yet another and equally powerful truth which answers the question as well. As to what a woman truly desires. Sorry, I had to go back for that a little bit. So it's speaking about this duality of women and the core of desire. I need to segue a tiny bit because I marked this for a reason, even though it feels a little bit unplaced. So sovereignty. This is the second time probably in a week that I have heard that word in context to an individual. So sovereignty in Lisa terms, because it came up recently for me, was to be in charge of oneself.
Right.
Okay. I find it fascinating, first off, that this comes in this book to say, I'm like, why would you ever imagine a human, a individual, to be like, my desire is that I be in charge of myself? Like, I feel like that should be a God-given right. And I don't care what genitalia you have. I want to be individual and in charge of myself.
I agree.
Like, it throws me off to imagine that has to be your main desire.
Wish. Yeah.
What?
Right.
That's a thing.
It is a thing.
But it is a thing.
Right.
It is entirely a thing. And it isn't only a thing. This is a thread through this story, or through this book, that isn't only a thing to women.
No.
It's a thing for women.
For sure.
But it isn't only a thing to women. I had the first time prior to reading it in this section of this book was recently. I was watching something. I was watching something on Facebook, and I look at weird things sometimes on Facebook. This one in particular was a woman using a pendulum, and the question that she asked herself every time she picked up her pendulum before she used it for anything else was, am I sovereign? And I was like, am I sovereign? Like, what?
Yeah,
like,
I would never think about asking that question.
Am I in charge of myself in this moment? It kind of just blew my socks off. Like, there's aspects of being whole and in charge of yourself at so many different levels.
That's a really huge concept. I mean, there are some places where women are not in charge
in
of
any
themselves
sort of way
at all. Right. So it's hard because I'm not from an area of the world like that. It's hard for me to wrap my head around what that would be like to not be in charge of yourself at all.
And it is equally difficult for me to wrap my head around what it would be like to be entirely in charge of myself.
Right. I don't know. Unless you live alone.
And not even then. Like, not even then, because then you have societal and cultural and, there's bigger things beyond just your familial and your
relationships and things like that.
Right.
Wow, that's a huge concept.
It It is. I know that it's completely out of place in where I like placed it in.
But you felt like it was significant.
It's so big.
Yeah.
It's so big. I don't really know.
Yikes.
I don't really know how to continue a like mental thread with that.
Yeah.
But
That was a side note, perhaps.
it is quite large.
Wow. I feel like, wow, I'm not prepared to really dissect that.
That's fair.
I don't, yeah.
That's
I'm
fair.
sorry.
Clearly you didn't
It's so
tab
big.
it.
I didn't. That's so big. And it's multi-layered, like you said. I would need some time to really chew on that for a while. I don't think I really can say much more than that's really big.
Fair. It's fair. That's fair. All right.
Yikes.
Well, what do you have?
All right. So I don't have anything till page 124. So
That's where I'm at.
all right. Well, 125 really.
Yep.
So she talks about, so these twins, one of them is the inner you, one of them is the outer you, right, of your personalities. The dog is the man's
instinctual part.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's the like that's where the folklore part comes in, and that's how she dissects it into something more tangible in this time and age, right? So she talks about how I think what I tabbed was really just that he uses his own instinctual self to accomplish the task of guessing the women's names, and that anyone who's close to a woman is in fact in the presence of two women.
Yes.
So this is a section that I found really fascinating.
Yep. The story speaks about the mystery of two powerful feminine forces within a single woman.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't show everybody all of myself all of the time. I don't even know that I show myself all of the time.
I don't disagree with that. I tried to sit with this part, and this was really important. I highlighted several things in this section, talking a bit about anyone close to a woman is in fact in the presence of two women, an outer woman and the interior
creature, basically.
Yeah, the one who lives in the topside world and one who lives in the world not easily seeable. The Kritora, I'm not probably saying that right, however, often travels to the surface from far away, often appearing and then as quickly disappearing, yet always leaving behind a feeling, something surprising, original, and knowing. And I tried to sit with that a bit because it talked, and I don't remember which specific section it talked about it in, but it said that these two aspects of woman are oftentimes in complete opposition of one another. So okay, I mean, there are definite pieces of me that I know are in opposition of one another. So if I consider the face of myself that I allow the world to see, okay, and I'm a pretty,
you're pretty closed up.
I don't think secretive maybe is the exact right word because that feels a little deceptive, but I definitely I keep very much of myself close to me.
I agree.
And only certain people have access to it. So the part that I show the world and the person that I want people to know as Lisa, characteristics of that person might be level-headed, might be relatively practical, maybe a little sassy. There's a humor aspect of this person that I show. Very direct in communication. Like those are aspects of the person that I allow for people to see. There is definitely really big parts of me that are in direct opposition to that. I feel like I am getting a little bit more deliberately intentional about allowing some of that part out. Deeply, deeply sensitive, insecure, less sure than the person that I leave on the outside. So is that what is being referred to between the duality of these things?
I absolutely think that's what she's talking about.
For instance, I think that if somebody who doesn't know me very well, they might use the word intimidating. I've had that word used towards
to describe you,
to describe me. Very, very independent. There's definite parts of me that are very, very vulnerable and very dependent. And I don't let those out very often. In fact, when I do, I'm almost angry with myself. So that's how I attributed it to like my own dualities.
I think that it's exactly what she's talking about. But she's also saying that these two women who are one are separate but conjoined elements which combine in the psyche in 1,000 ways.
It's the yin and yang, kind of.
I think I agree.
Really.
Right.
And yeah.
It's kind of like, so she talks about, as she's describing what these two halves of yourself are, like one is hot and one is cold, you know, that kind of thing. It kind of reminds me of, I've seen it like maybe in movies or read it in books. You're so beautiful when you're angry. Like that. Your inside is really angry. Your inside person is mad about something. But your face is just beautiful. You're so beautiful when you're angry. When you have all of this passion, you're so beautiful. Your inner self is coming out. And you're so beautiful, but your normal self is so reserved.
Aloof.
Yes.
I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's passion.
Right.
There's maybe passion that I don't see from you on a traditional level. Yes.
Right. I think that's sort of what she's getting at.
That's a really great example. So do you have duality in yourself?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I think everybody does. I don't know that it's healthy to let both sides of yourself be visible to everybody all of the time. At all. I don't, and they're in not competition with each other, but because they are opposites, you can't always be both of them at the same time.
Agree. At the bottom of this page, of page 125, I had one other thing highlighted. It said, if a woman hides one side or favors one side too much, she lives a very lopsided life which does not give her access to her entire power. This is not good. It's necessary to develop both sides.
Right.
They even, and I don't, it is in the next page, but they talk a bit about in different cultures how they, if a set of twins is born, specifically a set of twin girls, but if any set of twins is born, they really make sure to care for them equally because they are tied together in a way that like they must be treated entirely equally or they will not survive.
And more than that, their community won't survive.
Correct.
These twins have such an impact on the entire community that they have to be treated equal, on down to making sure they get the exact same amount of food every day.
Yes, the balancing nature of the twins has direct impact on the communities.
Right.
Through juju.
Right.
Yeah,
The
the
mystical
energy.
of the
Yeah,
soul.
yeah. And correlating that to the duality within women, that they need equal amounts. You can't allow one to thrive while the other one is diminished.
Correct.
Because
it's unbalanced.
your whole self will not survive.
Right.
Then.
Right.
It so being a person who is more introverted by nature, one of the things that oftentimes riles me right up is how our society, our culture is very open to and loving towards extroversion. But introversion is kind of like, it's probably getting a little bit better now. I think things that I've seen allow for space for introversion as opposed to being shunned. But that kind of concept makes me think of this in duality, right? Like as a community and as a culture, very heavily extroversion and those attributes are fed very, very, very healthfully. And those attributes of a person who resonates with introversion is kind of starved a little bit. It's not as predominant and it's not as loved in society and culture to be an introvert versus an extrovert.
I think that they're not as supported, I would say.
Yes.
It's hard to reach somebody who's more introverted because they're not outgoing. They stay home, they keep to themselves. Somebody who's extroverted, they're out, they're visible, they're big,
asking for attention.
Right.
They're like creating the environment to like make sure that,
right,
that community is there.
Well, and in Wisconsin, I don't know that this is true everywhere, but in Wisconsin, there's a bar in every corner in every town. So that is a place where people go to be seen, right? So when you're outgoing, that there's your support, your community support. It's that, every, whether it's a restaurant or wherever, right? Like, people who are introverted are not going to go to a place like that. So how do you support somebody who doesn't come out and you don't let me see you, you don't let me spend time with you, so I don't know how to support you?
Yeah, I'm not even like, I guess I view it more from a work perspective. So you're talking kind of in social environment perspective.
A community period.
Yes.
Right.
But even in a work perspective, right? You have people who are introverted and you have people who are extroverted.
Sure.
And I think that it is easy, probably very similar to what you're saying, but in a social setting, it is easy to dismiss and or overlook the qualities that somebody with introversion can bring forward, because extroversion is so bountiful. It's just so like in your face.
Right.
Like you don't even have to ask for it and it's there. But that's where I'm correlating that from the balance. There has to be a balance.
Right. That is off balanced. Right. I'm not sure I don't know how to better balance those two things though, any more than I would know how to better balance my own personalities. If I'm in an environment where I don't feel safe, where I'm not comfortable, I'm not letting my inner self for anybody to see.
Yeah.
I cannot support that side of me in certain environments.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that makes that unhealthy. I don't think that makes my behavior in protecting myself unhealthy. I don't think everybody gets all of you all of the time. And that's
I don't disagree.
Very healthy.
Right.
That's
I don't
boundaries.
disagree. That doesn't, I don't think it's saying like be vulnerable with all parts of you at all times. I don't think that's the message. I think the message is more recognize that there are parts of you that are in opposition to one another, and be supportive of those opposite attributes, equally and uniquely.
Mm-hmm.
Equally, but uniquely.
Right.
Right? And it doesn't mean that, everything is available 360 degrees, 24 hours a day for everyone.
No.
But it does mean you have to feed each of those things in their own environment to support them equally.
Correct. Right.
Like usual, we agree.
Yeah.
It just takes us a while to get there sometimes.
We say the same things. We come at it from different angles, and then we realize,
oh, shit,
we got to the same end point, just in a different way. She's on page 127. She talks about sometimes masculine forces can attempt to demolish the dual nature of women. She uses Bluebeard as an example.
She refers back.
Right, because we had talked about him in a previous chapter. She says that sort of suitor cannot tolerate duality and is looking for perfection, for the one truth, the one immovable, unchangeable, femina substantia, the feminine substance embodied in the one perfect woman. That's not a thing.
Right.
But when you have a potential suitor who is looking for that in you, you have to be this one thing all of the time. This one perfect ideal, my ideal woman, that's who you have to be for me.
So when there's aspects of yourself that are in opposition with that,
right,
that is something that I'm going to attack and squelch.
Yeah, we're not having any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, don't let that shit out.
Right.
Not to me, not to anybody else, and certainly not to yourself.
Right. That's not who you are. It's not who I want you to be.
Right.
So stop that.
Right.
She's saying run far and fast from people like that.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
A much better suitor is someone who's more of the Manawi type lover, both within and without.
Mm-hmm. A Manawi man has his own dual nature, a human nature and the instinctive nature as symbolized by the dog. His human nature, while sweet and loving, is not enough to win the courtship, but in his dog, a symbol of his instinctual nature that has the ability to creep near the women and with his keen listening hears their names.
Mm-hmm. So what I hear from that is being with somebody who hears you, who sees you, even when you're
most
not
vulnerable.
Then that for sure, but even when you're not, they see you anyway. It's the are you okay? You seem a little off.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm fine. I don't know. I think I'm fine. Are you sure? Because you seem
right.
You seem a little off.
Right. I'm just getting this. I'm just getting this feeling.
Yeah. Right. Because I see you. I know you just told me that story and you said you're fine, but I see you and I hear you. Are you sure you're fine? And it's okay if you're not fine.
I think you're exactly right, because as I'm listening to you talk, I'm reading further on this page and it says, it is Manawi's dog that has sharp hearing and tenacity.
Right.
That has the instinct to burrow under the walls and to find, to chase, and to retrieve valuable ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Right. Somebody who sees you. All of you. All sides of you. And is and loves all of that.
So we said this is going to be really short, and it's going to end up not being short. So as I read that sentence, the last two words stand out to me, and they're stuck in my craw. About they're able to find, to chase, and to retrieve valuable ideas. so the valuable ideas piece is sticking, and it makes me recognize that perhaps the inside, it's the inside self that is not as seen and portrayed in the physical, like, awareness of the world, that has those those valuable ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the instinctual part of woman too,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it needs the instinctual part of woman that creates these valuable ideas, and that aspect of creation and ideas, and ooh, what if we did this, and how about this, and ooh, I let's create this. It needs the instinctual part of man in order to create, to say, you know what, that is valuable. You know what, that's a great idea, and let's see what we need to do to figure out how to bring that to creation, to fruition. Am I making shit up? You're looking at me like,
yeah, because
I'm not so sure.
I'm not. That feels contradictory to being sovereign. So I can't be valuable unless you, a man, sees me and says, yeah, that's a good idea. Let me help you bring that to a thing.
No, that's not what I mean. I don't mean that it is necessary to have a man to bring that to fruition, but as a partner, like as your partner,
to be supportive of you.
that
Okay.
to say,
as opposed to being,
I see your idea, and let's move forward with that together.
that feels better to me.
Yeah, it's not
As
a
a
requirement.
support, as opposed to, right, as in you're not complete by yourself unless somebody else.
No.
Gotcha. I understand now. So
it would be birthed so much more. It would be birthed so much easier,
right,
as a source of creation, if you had a partner who was like instinctually there to be in support of,
right,
and to help.
Yes. So she talks about that. She says, Manawi guesses and guesses, but cannot guess the names of the twins with his mundane nature alone. The dog, I'm on page 129. The dog, as representative of the intuitive, acts in Manawi's service. Women often crave a man who has this kind of endurance and the wit to continue trying to understand her deep nature. When she finds a mate of that substance, she will give lifelong loyalty and love. So I think that's exactly what you were you were saying.
Yeah, it is. I didn't underline that part, but yes.
She's looking for someone who sees her and loves,
and the value of
and
it,
loves her.
Right.
All of her.
Right.
Right.
Not in spite of, but because of.
Yes. Right. Right. This part, this is a little side note. She says that dogs are the magicians of the universe.
Yeah.
By their presence alone, they transform grumpy people into grinning people and sad people into less sad people. That I just thought was very
true.
Also true, but also just very heartwarming.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's heartwarming and true.
Yes. Side note. Anyway. Yeah. I don't know that I have a whole lot more.
Well, I have sticky notes, but I didn't actually. Oh, I did. Okay.
She taught the next part that I.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have, like, the next section for me is creeping seductive appetite. It's on page 131.
Oh, that little damn dog going after all the bones and shit when he was supposed to be doing his job.
On a mission and he got sidetracked. But she talks about how it's not by accident that men and women struggle to find deeper sides of their nature, and yet they become distracted for any number of reasons.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding.
Right.
Raise your hand.
For sure. Some become addicted to those pleasures or reasons and forever stay entangled there and never continue with their work.
So it's that same concept that we've talked about countless times as it relates to I don't have time, or
Yep.
I have to do this, or this is prioritized higher,
It
or
sure
society
is.
says, or I have responsibilities, and I
Yep.
gotta get through this part of my life. Like I don't have time for that part of my life.
Right. Right. And then you set up all of these reasons, all of these things to be in your way so that it validates your belief that you don't have time for all of these
It's
things.
addicted to being busy. I spent
Yeah,
decades of my life doing that.
absolutely.
Like over 20 years.
I did too. Yeah, she's talking about how it's a very common occurrence in deep psychic work. The distractions of appetite interfere with the primary process. Things like, I got distracted because I decided this week was just the right time to give all 500 houseplants a haircut.
Right.
Or I began 7 new creative ventures, had a great time at it, and then decided that none of them truly showed the real promise and I dropped them all. But you just wasted all of that time that you needed to be working on yourself, doing your deep work.
Sometimes, though, I think so I remember reading that part, not the 500 houseplants. Like, I get that, and I've done that. I get that
Yeah.
because I've done that.
Right.
But like the creative ventures,
Yeah.
okay, that's what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're headed out on a creative venture, I can see how it would be misleading to wonder, am I diving deeply into myself through this creative venture, or is this a distraction? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, when there's 7 of them, though.
Okay, I mean, fair. But I could do 7 of them, one right after another, and still be confused as to whether or not I was headed down adventures. It goes back to what we were talking about with Vicky. Like, you don't know which ones are the keys.
Yeah.
Like, and you kind of just have to do it in order to figure out.
And you'll know.
Yeah.
That wasn't it.
Right. Like, maybe that wasn't quite as impactful as what I was expecting it to be.
Right.
But, like, I wouldn't have known if I didn't do it.
Right.
I don't know. That's
a
a
little
hard
tricky.
one for me. That's a hard one for me. I'm jumping to page 134.
Okay.
The piece that stood out to me here was, in the story, the little dog fights for its life. This is when he's battling.
Attacked by the stranger.
Yeah. Sometimes the only way we learn to hold on to our deeper knowing is because a stranger jumps out. Then we are forced to fight for what we find dear. Fight to be serious about what we are about. Fight to develop our past, our superficial spiritual motives, which Robert Bly calls the desire to feel groovy. Fight to hold on to the deeper knowledge. Fight to finish what we have begun. And that resonated with me, right? I'm a pretty tenacious person by nature. Like, I'm pretty persistent and I'm pretty focused. It would take me a bit to get off track on something that I truly believe in, unless I was completely thrown off track unexpectedly. For instance, even though I didn't really get off track, I guess, with the podcast, right? This is something that is near and fucking dear to me. And it took every bit last year to stay on track, but I did it. I had to be very tenacious about it. I had to be very, very deliberate to do it, because it would have been really easy to not.
Right.
And even the shadow, right? The attack of what my life was last year, like I had to
you were the
snarl.
dog.
I had to snarl to keep going.
Yeah.
I didn't actually put that together until I started speaking about it right now. But there are a number of other things in my life that I did stop doing entirely. Things that I was completely dedicated to and gung-ho about and really wanted to do for myself. And I literally just stopped for a whole year. And now, just now, a year later, starting to pick back up again. So the level of intensity goes up substantially, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's booby traps. There's different levels of booby traps with all of this.
I think it is, if being in touch with your inner self were easy,
everybody would be doing it.
Everybody would be doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody would feel unfulfilled. Nobody would feel stuck.
Yeah. That's all I had in this chapter.
That's about it for me too.
So again, I think going back to a comment that we made up front about this is that this is an external thing and an internal thing.
It is.
And sometimes you have to fight both of those in order to, you have to fight the external to get to the internal. And that's circular all by itself, right? Because if you're hearing somebody on the outside say, that's garbage, don't pay attention to that, don't put your energy in that, don't spend time or money or, any of the valuable things because that's not important, well, then that feeds your internal.
Well, it feeds the distractions then.
And
right?
then you have to fight your internal self to get through those distractions as well.
Yes. Right.
Right. Because now you have 2 doors up and not just one.
Mm. It's just so much.
God damn.
So much. I mean, this was supposed to be a short chapter. We thought,
I know. I thought 25 minutes we'd be done talking about this.
And yeah. So here I was all critical of, took her 8 whole pages just to get to the point. It took us almost an hour to talk about 15 pages.
Right, 15 sentences.
I guess I shouldn't be so critical.
Again, it's something I think you go back to and you go back to and go back to based on where you are in your life and situation and things that spur questions within yourself. That's all.
That's it then.
Okay.
Whew. I feel like that was a heavy chapter.
I would agree. I feel like it's not heavy. It feels just, maybe for me, I think it feels a little bit different. It's not heavy. It just means that I have some more uncovering to do. There's just more uncovering. I'm coming across things that I just didn't even fucking know were there.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to brush them off a little bit.
And take a look.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
here's that.
For taking a look.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well,
Todd, thank you.
Sorry we said this would be short and it's not.
We said we were going to do this short. We said the next one was going to be short. That's probably not going to be short either. So,
sorry.
Love us.
And thank you.
Mind Garden Media is who helps support our podcast every single week in
every step of the way.
Every sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching, counseling, editing, preparing, brainstorming, loving, all of the things. So thank you.
Absolutely. And thanks to our listeners. Hey, we've got people in some new places.
We sure do. I don't know what 2024 is bringing, but it's multiplying a bit internationally.
Right.
Do you remember the countries that are new?
Mexico?
Yep.
Russia, and
yeah.
Italy.
That's right.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for
Thanks
joining
for joining us. So that's really exciting.
It is.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody who's listening, who's sharing, who's liking and commenting.
And talking with your friends about
Absolutely.
it, because those indirect ways are just as important as the direct ways.
For sure.
So thank you.
Thanks for all your support.
Yeah. See you next time.
All right. See
Bye.
ya. Bye.